Hello, welcome to Shoot the Defense on FNX. I'm your host, Stel, and joining me today is John.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Long time no speak.
Not that long, couple of weeks.
2 weeks is a long time, especially in football. Especially in football. I was actually listening to episode 13 that we did 6 years ago.
It's a long time ago.
6 years ago? It is 6 years ago, isn't it? And I was thinking, we haven't changed one bit. We still swear like troopers off air. We still have strange opinions and we still bicker.
Yeah.
But that's the joy.
What makes it great stuff.
Precisely. And we're joined this evening by a gentleman who is very well known in the media world. His name is Jed Mills, and he works for TalkSport, don't you, Jed? Welcome to the show.
Good evening. Thanks for having me on.
It's an absolute pleasure, mate. Thanks for joining us. How's things?
Really good. Yeah, it's actually keeping an eye on gold trophy stuff that's going on as well tonight whilst we're sort of doing this. So as the scores are coming in, I'm sort of keeping my eye on that. So yeah, but it's great. Like I say, just football now all the way in it to the end of May, which is just brilliant.
Well, it's like it hasn't stopped, hasn't it? Because we had the World Cup, we had pre-season tournaments or whatnot, and now we're back into the main event, although we've kind of got an international break now. So I don't know what people feel about the international break at the moment, because it's such a fantastic World Cup.
I think it's interesting. I think if it was a friendly, I think we had massive reservations about this last year. I remember we were all sort of talking about what's the point? What's the point in, we've just had 5-6 games, whatever it is in the Premier League, and now we're stopping it. And we've all, just got back into getting excited about the Premier League, and our teams are starting to sort of show what they can do, the strengths, the new managers bedding in formations and stuff like that. And then suddenly there's an international break and friendlies, and it kind of messes it all up a little bit. This is a little bit different, this Nations League, because there is something to play for. So I'm really interested, because I'll be honest with you, guys. I'm going to be talking about this on the show this weekend on TalkSport. I have absolutely no idea how this Nations League sort of works, because it's so complicated. I've read a good article on it as well. It was done by the 442 magazine online, and it really does pinpoint kind of what it all is and how it is and how is it going to play out. And I have to say, it's still really complicated. So I'm trying to break it down into layman's terms and do it for this weekend. So that's my hope. But I do know what I've gathered out of it is that, we play Spain, we've got Croatia. As you know, Croatia obviously in the final of the World Cup. Spain were knocked out by Russia on penalties, but, is there still that magic with Spain? We play them two teams, and they're not friendlies. So, these are two top teams in the world. How good is Southgate? I think there's actually a bit of pressure on Southgate now after the World Cup, because, yes, he overachieved by getting to the semi-final, but then people have this argument, well, we only played Sweden, we only played Colombia, etc. And how good are we? Well, I think Spain and Croatia in the Nations League will be a real sort of test on how far we've come, how far we've improved, and how good are we? In not World Cup sort of competition, in sort of normal this Nations League that's drawn out over a good year and a bit. But it's really complicated. But actually, I'm glad it's not a friendly. But it'd be interesting to see how the perception is. Do people still think it's a friendly when it's not? So it'd be really interesting to see how that works out this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes back to what we said before about friendlies. You have 3 or 4 games at the beginning of the season, and it's like, great, we're gathering some momentum, and all of a sudden, bang, internationals, and you're thinking, oh, crap, how many of our players are going to come back injured? How many of them are going to say, oh, I'm too tired? And then it goes back to the old adage where it's like, well, we've got a winter break, but is that going to be long enough? And the next thing you know, they're going up to Dubai for warm weather training. It just doesn't. I just can't get my head around it. But it is what it is, and unfortunately, nothing's really going to change unless the FA step in, or the Premier League. And I highly doubt that's really going to happen, because they're going to be making money off the winter break, 100%.
I hate this international break. This one every year, I hate it. Whether it's competitive or not, it's just so badly timed. It's interesting what Jed was saying about Gareth Southgate, though, because he really
overachieved.
Yes, he did overachieve, but because he does such a great job of lowering expectations before the cup started. You know, and now that they have overachieved, there's a little bit of an expectation now.
Do you know what? I don't think it's as much as, say, under Graham Taylor, because Graham Taylor inherited this England squad that reached the World Cup semi-finals.
Yeah.
But then he brought in his own players, whereas with Southgate, he kind of inherited a squad of players that perhaps didn't have any
Unity,
fight, or the players that he called up were fairly inexperienced.
Yeah.
But he dropped Wilshere, he dropped Joe Hart, he made big decisions.
Yeah.
Now he's like, well, do I keep the same core group of players, or do I bring in players that are doing really well at the moment, that are in form? I mean, Troy Deeney, let's be 100% honest, he should be in that England squad.
Oh yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. I mean, I was watching him play over the weekend, and every time I watch him, he impresses me. I do think he needs a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, let's begin the show with a quiz. What do you reckon?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, this quiz is actually now known as the quiz with no name until we find the suitable name. So that's what it is, the quiz with no name. Now, the concept is simple for those of you watching and listening. I've picked 3 results from past Premier League season, and all you have to do is guess the goal scorers. Okay, don't guess them now. Just think about. I'm going to give you the games. Just think about the possible goal scorers, and at the end of it, we're gonna discuss them. Yeah,
sure.
I'll give you the answers. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want you guys to cast your minds back to the 9th of September 2006. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, sorry, 12 years ago, when you were
a lot slimmer.
You said it, not me. I've gone the opposite direction, mate.
Bit more hair, perhaps.
yeah, that you're right about. Yeah, so 2006, Everton 3, Liverpool 0.
Wow.
Can anyone remember the last time Everton beat Liverpool, let alone trouncing them like that?
No.
Okay.
Long time.
Okay, right. So the next.
And I think, actually, I was going to say a long time to that again, but you know what? I think the Merseyside derby this time around could actually be a really good derby, as in not just intensity and passion, but actually good quality as well with just the way these two teams have started. I think that's one certainly to look forward to. But yeah, right, 2006 September, what was it, 3-1?
3-0 to Everton.
And what we have goal scorers.
Yeah, so you think, don't say them now. Think about it, and then say it at the end of the show, because you're gonna have people go, "Oh, I know the answer," and let them think about it throughout the whole show. That'd be great. That'd be great. Okay, the next game is Bolton 1, Watford 0. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice and easy one. Not easy one, but not as many goal scorers.
Yeah.
Okay. And the final game is Newcastle 1, Fulham 2.
Who was in charge of Newcastle back then?
I don't know.
I need a pen and paper to write this down. So, right, I got it. So we got
Everton 3, Liverpool 0.
Everton 3, Liverpool 0. Right. Okay. Let me write it in the notes. I'm not going to cheat it. I like guessing. I like quizzes.
Okay.
3-0 Everton, and then we had
Bolton 1, Watford 0.
Bolton 1, Watford 0, and these are all 2006.
That's correct. Yeah, on the same day as well, 9th of September.
Yeah, and then
Newcastle 1, Fulham 2.
Right, 1, Fulham 2. Okay, right. I've got that.
That Mike Ashley took over Newcastle.
2006. We've been in charge that long.
Yeah, and I think has he taken him down twice?
That's right. Yeah.
So
that infamous interview he gave Bein Sports, where he said, "Yeah, I'm going to put my hands in my pockets," and they're still waiting for him to put his hands in his pockets.
Well, he's bought House of Fraser, hasn't he? So that's what he's done. He's
well, you get some free clobber, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think it's unfair assessment of Mike Ashley. He has put his hand in his pockets. What he's done is got the money and he's put it in.
There you go. That's why you should come back on more often. These one-liners.
I'm here all week.
Yeah, excellent.
That's a night, really, but still.
Okay, let's move on then. Let's talk about the Premier League and move on to Vicarage Road, where Watford continued their flying start to the season, coming from behind to beat Spurs 2-1. Goals from Troy Deeney, our friend who should be in the national team, and Craig Cathcart maintaining Javi Gracia's side's 100% record. Now, I'm going to ask you this because Mr. Giggs isn't here, unfortunately. Gracia was actually tipped as one of the first managers to get the sack. But Watford's win means they are level with Liverpool in terms of most points in the Premier League since January, which is quite impressive. And then level 1 points to Liverpool at the top of the table, which is quite ironic. This isn't a fluke, is it?
Well, no. I mean, you don't have a 100% record 4 games in as a fluke. You can't say they haven't played anyone either, because they just beat Spurs.
Yeah.
I think he's working the team really well. He's setting them up really well. They scored from set pieces, didn't they? Their 2 goals were both from some set pieces. They must have been working on that a lot in training. But we mentioned Troy Deeney earlier. And Troy Deeney, they've got a good finisher, passionate player. Do you know what? He's a real leader as well. And every time I watch Troy Deeney, I'm more and more impressed with him. And he should have been picked up by a bigger team by now, if not the national team as well. He deserves something more now, that guy.
So, but why do you think he hasn't gone? Because I can tell you this for now, from what I know, Troy Deeney practically runs that Watford dressing room. Yeah, whatever he says goes. Like, he is like the Raul of Watford.
I'm sure he does, but he shows leadership though. He's showing leadership at the club. I think I remember seeing his interview, and there's the second goal that they scored, the second set piece. It wasn't one of the drills that they practiced, but they did it anyway. And he was fully aware that Gracia was going to have words with him afterwards. But at the end of the day, they scored.
Yeah,
they won the game. They beat Spurs, who are tipped to be competing this season. You know, it's not an easy win against Spurs ever. It's never an easy game against Spurs, but they bullied Spurs and they were the better team.
Absolutely. And I think our friend Hala Madrid in the chat says, Watford coach at half-time said, lads, it's Spurs. You like this one?
I wish that was the case, but you know what? The Spurs, you can't deny Spurs are a good team. This is an Arsenal fan saying this. But you can't deny that Spurs are a good team. But Watford, they had their game plan. They didn't necessarily stick to it, but it did work. They outplayed Spurs. They outmuscled them. And with a guy like Troy Deeney leading by example, you know, you can always get something.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, look, here we have a coach with a very old-fashioned mentality, in the sense that the harder teams work, the better results they'll get. But his modern approach of high-intensity pressing is working wonders. Now, Watford's system off the ball is pretty much a traditional 4-4-2, but when they're not in possession, you'll see the wide players moving inside, forcing opposition to play the ball sideways. And that happened time and time again against Spurs. Now, Jed, Pochettino's men didn't have much joy through the middle and often resorted to long balls. So should he heap praise on Gracia for getting his tactics spot on, or is this another example as to why some people believe Pochettino's in-game management is quite limited?
I'm similar to John. I'm an Arsenal fan myself. So I totally agree. For me, Spurs are a really good side, but when I'm talking about a really good side, I'm talking about a good 14, 15, which, and they didn't buy, remember, in the summer, which is for me, if I was a Spurs fan, I always wind up the Spurs fans, because I basically say, you're doing an Arsenal, you're getting a new stadium and all the money's going into the new stadium, you're not buying any players. It looks potentially, though, they might start offloading their better players. Do you know what I mean? Like I say, doing the Arsenal model, which is what everyone sort of had a real problem with Wenger and the Arsenal board at the Emirates at the time, which is, you know, fair enough. And look at where they are. But it worries me for Spurs because, I think Pochettino, I really like Pochettino, but I just think that he's limited. He's limited in what he can do. And you look at the players that Pochettino has, and like I say, that sort of 14-15, it's a fantastic 14-15, but you know, you look at other options he has, what are they? You know, because he's got to play to his strengths, and his strengths are, you know, Kane. His strengths are, I mean, Eriksen, without a shadow of a doubt, is probably one of, if not the best set piece man, dead ball man, with crossing balls. Is phenomenal. And now they've got Trippier, by the way, who out of somewhere has become this unbelievable dead ball specialist that we saw in the World Cup. We didn't really see it before, and then he comes, sets the world alight in the World Cup, and he's carried it on for Spurs. I just found that a really bizarre transformation. But I just think, I like Pochettino. I think he's a manager that I think with resources could do so much better, and tactically, I think he would be able to change things up. But unfortunately, I think he knows there's one side to this Spurs team, and if he tries to go against the grain, if he tries to change it up a little bit, I think it could actually prove to be more disastrous than sticking to your guns, sticking to your plan A. And that's where you get some good coaches playing against Spurs that will realise the sort of plan A and realise where the target men are and where obviously they can hit you hard, especially against the better sides, that is. I think, yeah, Spurs could be in trouble against the top teams. And I think it proves it. You know, they don't. You look at Liverpool, you look at Manchester City, I think they're going to be far out. Jose Mourinho, whether he lasts that long, you don't know. But you think that he could coach a side to nullify Spurs and win. Teams like Brighton, Burnley, and teams like that, unfortunately, I don't think they've got the quality, even though they might know where to nullify Spurs. I just don't think they've got the quality to stop them. Hence why I think Spurs will always be kind of top four. But will they ever go on to achieve greatness and maybe topple Manchester City? I doubt it, but I don't think that's down to Pochettino. I think that's down to just the lack of investment. I think he needs more players. He needs more squad players. He needs better players in different areas to be able to have a plan A and plan B. And I'm going to say this right now. I think that if Pochettino had Manchester United's team, I mean, I think obviously there's the defence that needs sorting out, and I think Spurs has got one of the best defences in Europe. I think he could do so much more with Manchester United than he can with Tottenham Hotspur.
Tell me something, Jed. I've spoken about Spurs on numerous occasions about their winning mentality, and time and time again, I've had Spurs fans say to me, well, it's the same story over and over again. You know, Leicester won the league with only one player that's really done anything in his career, and that's Danny Simpson. And to be fair, he played a bit part player at United. But I've always said the winning mentality, I don't just mean players that have got the attitude. I mean players that have got the experience. Now, if they'd have brought in, say, for example, Yaya Toure, I know he's mid-30s. I know that he probably doesn't have loads to offer on the pitch because he's getting on a bit. But that experience, that person in the dressing room that's won everything, or someone like Marquisio that's ended up at Zenit St. Petersburg, he'd have been a fantastic acquisition, you know. And this is what I'm saying. Like, if Spurs had 2 or 3 players, I know you can say, you know, the goalkeeper, he's won the World Cup. I know you can say Davinson Sanchez has won the Eredivisie, as is Vertonghen and Alderweireld, but these are leagues that aren't really up there, you know. Christian Eriksen again won it with Ajax. When you look at the team, like your Trippiers, your Auriers, who else have they got in there? Eric Dyer, even Harry Kane. They haven't won trophies. I know they can only win them by playing games and learning from things, but it's very difficult to topple a team like Man City, who have got not only ability in abundance, but a winning mentality. Pretty much every player in that City squad has won a title, even Mahrez, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I'd say I think that Spurs, I don't know if it's down to a winning mentality. I mean, I suppose you could argue that the Spurs used to be the cup side. They used to be the cup side, the team that did well in the cups. They don't do that anymore, you know. And is that down to a winning mentality, a mentality that, I mean, you got to remember. I mean, we all remember Sir Alex Ferguson's old Manchester United side. You know, that was sort of my era, that sort of 90s growing up, and you know, he always talked about Fergie time, you know, and never giving up. And that was a winning mentality that Manchester United had. I think that Jose Mourinho had it certainly at like the likes of Chelsea when he was there in the beginning, that sort of, you know, hunger, that never give up. You can see Pep Guardiola, if you watch the documentary that Pep Guardiola done for Manchester City, you can just see that it's win or nothing. You know, it's win or nothing. And we've talked about this before where, you know, that winning mentality, and it comes from the top. Is Pochettino got that? Has he got that to instill into his team? And unfortunately, I think when you go through a summer and when you've got a chairman like Daniel Levy, who is very business savvy, and they're looking at this stadium and they're putting the money into that, and they've not signed anyone, and yes, they've kept hold of the players, but let's be honest, if you're Harry Kane, you know, Dele Alli, Eriksen, even Trippier and players like that have really impressed their back, or they're pretty much their back 5, if you will. that's impressed so much, and people talk about their defence being the best defence in the world. I have to say, I don't think there's many good defenders in world football at this moment in time. You know, where you used to in the 90s have some incredible defenders and defences, and used to, I don't know, used to sort of salivate over defending and the way they used to keep the ball out and keep, you know, score lines down to 0. Now it's that is just non-existent anymore. And I think you see some of the best teams in the world in the football, and we saw it in the World Cup. Some of the teams that the defending was like horrific, and Spurs have got that. But I think that Pochettino, unfortunately, I think he kind of knows his place. And he knows his place that there is no money there. And how can then he go on and then go to his team and start saying that, you know, we've got this great team, we've got this winning mentality, when you know the players will go, but we haven't won anything. We you know, we're not going anywhere. When you look at Manchester City, when you look at Liverpool spending big money, you know, Liverpool spending big money on a goalkeeper, and Tottenham aren't doing that. You've got to think, well, you know, why not? Why aren't they doing that? What's the future for Tottenham Hotspur? Where is this all going? And as I say, unfortunately, I see them just being the next Arsenal until they lose Pochettino to somebody else, and they lose Harry Kane. They lose their better players who will go in the hunt and search for trophies, because let's be honest, that's what it's all about nowadays. I don't think there's much loyalty in football anymore. So what will Spurs then be? And unfortunately, like I say, I think they'll be the new Arsenal.
It's funny you say that, because you know you touched on Pochettino just there, and I know you've been a big fan of his, even from when he came from Espanyol to Southampton. And what confuses me is that Pochettino obviously knew that there'd be restrictions financially because of the new stadium, because extra costs of renting Wembley, because obviously they probably didn't think that the stadium wasn't going to be ready, but you'd always have to have a plan B.
Sure.
They're having problems with signing new players to big contracts, because Harry Kane, I think, is their highest paid player. I don't think anyone will beat that pay bracket. So, and you got a chairman that practically refuses to spend money. So when Pochettino was offered that new contract, surely in the back of his mind, he knew that there would be some financial restrictions in the future. So he can't exactly say, "Oh, I didn't know." He's not stupid, is he?
Well, either he knew there was financial restrictions and there was detailed and explained to him, or promises were made that haven't been kept. Because when he signed the contract for Spurs, I think it's pretty much a given fact that there was an offer on the table from Real Madrid.
Of course.
You know, Real Madrid needed a new manager, and Pochettino was their #1 choice. So he still signed a new contract with Spurs. Was there a promise made? Was he promised that he'd be able to sign X, Y, Z? He'd be able to spend whatever amount, and they haven't delivered? I don't know. If that is the case, then obviously if you're Pochettino right now, you're going to be feeling a little bit betrayed. You know. Otherwise, if he was told that there's financial restrictions and you've got to make do with what you've got, that actually shows a lot of character of a coach or a manager to say, do you know what, I'm going to stick and I'm going to fight it out. These players are good, and I'm going to get even more out of them than I did last season.
Or is he hiding behind that?
He could be hiding behind that. I don't think he's that kind of person, though. I think Pochettino.
He's never won anything before in his life as a manager. Let's be honest. And the best chance he got of winning something was last season in the FA Cup, the year before the FA Cup.
That's right.
You know, came second, third in a two-horse race. Or...
He needs to be considered a great coach or a great manager. He needs to win something now, because you said it. He came from Espanyol. The team was sold from beneath him, and he had no chance. And he was unfortunately let go because of those circumstances. It wasn't actually his fault. He went to Southampton. He did an amazing job at Southampton. He turned them into one of the most exciting teams to watch in English football. And then he got the position at Spurs, and he cut the dead wood from Spurs, which kudos to him, because there was a lot of the Harry Redknapp era still in the Spurs team. He cut
Harry's bargains.
Yeah, he cut that dead wood. It became Pochettino Spurs. He took them not to the next level, but he took them up a few levels, you know, to where they are now. But now, this season, he needs to win something.
So effectively, this season, if they don't have a successful season, then would it be fair to say that they've been punching above their weight for the past few years?
Not well. punches above their weight? I think no, because
I'll put that to the listeners. I'll put that to the listeners.
Where they should be.
I'm prepared to take the abuse. I'll put that to the listeners. Right.
One thing I want to ask though, because Jed brought it up about defenders. Who's the best defender in the world right now?
Sergio Ramos.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Godin?
Just for the shithousery. That's all.
Godin's got to be up.
Godin for me. From Uruguay, I think he's kind of got that typical centre half. You know, he's got a lot of guile, which is what you think you need in top centre half play in this day and age. I think you need to have something about you that can wind up top strikers to make them frustrated so they're not performing. He can read a game. He's he's good in the air. For me, Godin is right up there. I mean, I can't understand Manchester United. Obviously, there was talk about them getting him. I can't understand why they didn't go, listen, let's blow the budget, because their defence is just woeful. But then again, the way they're playing, it didn't matter if you had Godin, Franco Baresi, Paolo Maldini, and Roberto Carlos in the defence, they'd still be woeful. So
I agree. Godin for me is probably the best defender in the world right now, because he organises the defence. He reads the game so well, and he gets back in the position. He doesn't need to have a lot of pace because he reads the game so well. He knows where he's got to be, you know.
And well, I'd just say Sergio Ramos because of the whole shithousery. I mean, what he did at the FIFA awards.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, let's continue with this game, because John, last week on the show we spoke about the impact Pereira has had at Watford. We can't ignore Will Hughes' contribution as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's only a matter of time before he's called up to the England squad, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's got to keep doing what he's doing. He's playing really well. Cathcart played well again at the weekend too, but I already said it. Troy Deeney deserves a chance too. There's a few players in Watford that you can see. Do you know what? They work hard. They might not be the most talented players in the world. They may not have the best technique or the most pace in the world, but they work hard, and that's something that the manager's putting into them, and it's working.
Yeah, I'm sure Craig Cathcart has been called up by Northern Ireland.
Yeah,
he has. Yeah, he was at Blackpool. That's where I used to see him at Blackpool. He was a brilliant player. Went to Watford, and he's kind of come on. He's had a brilliant career, actually, Cathcart. He really has. Again, we talk about great defenders. He's not world-class defender, but he's just a solid Premier League defender that he's, you're looking at sort of 7 out of 10 most weeks. And they're the kind of players you want in your team. You need players that aren't stars, aren't high up there with being interviewed every week, or high profile, but a bit like Dennis Irwin. We all remember Dennis Irwin. He was an 8 out of 10 player every single week. And I think, when you look at these Manchester United players, or any player that talks about, who was the greatest left back you played with, and, they miss out the likes of Evra and people like that. There's some great left backs around the world that they've played with. Dennis Irwin, this just guy from Ireland, is always stuck at the left back. I think sort of Cathcart, I'm not saying he's in the sort of same bracket. I think he's the same mould as Dennis Irwin. He's just a solid defender. And I saw him a lot at Blackpool, and I thought he was brilliant then. And when he got his move to Watford, it was a brilliant move for him at the time. And yeah, he deserves all the praise he gets. And last day, good goal at the weekend as well. I'm just delighted he's doing well.
Product of United's academy, how they could do with a decent central defender at the moment.
I did not know that.
That's right. Yeah. Well, Tottenham's win at Old Trafford last Monday led to more questions about Mourinho's Manchester United future and player commitment. A comfortable 2-0 win at Burnley hasn't fooled anyone, although a siege mentality from the manager and travelling fans, coupled with an airplane banner which read Ed Woodward, a specialist in failure, was great to see, especially from United fans' perspective. Rhodri isn't here, John, so I'm going to pose this question to you. It's obvious there are issues at the club, very similar to Arsenal when you and I were talking about them back in the day. But they did what they had to do, and that was to bounce back from that dreadful performance against Spurs to beat Burnley, another team going through a rough patch. Yeah,
the Burnley haven't really continued where they left off last season, because they had their best season ever last season, didn't they? They were even pushing for top 6, and they were pushing pretty hard too. So it was a strange game to watch. Actually, there was a lot of clumsiness. It was
to say the least.
Yeah, it was a little bit heated as well. there's a lot of hesitation as well, especially I've got to say, especially from United in the penalty area, just outside the penalty area. There's a lot of hesitation. You just think just hit it, just take the shot, and no one was taking the shot. I don't know why they were hesitating so much. And then there was the sending off with Rashford. I don't think anyone really wants to get in Barnsley's face. I don't think he's the kind of guy you want to do that to.
Well, the thing is, Phil Bardsley, another player from United's academy, he's done stuff like this before.
Yeah.
He dived in the League Cup to earn Sunderland the penalty. He also is Rooney's best mate, and I know that there's a bit of needle between Rooney and Rashford because they.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Did not know that.
Perhaps that maybe played a part.
Yeah.
I'm just speculating, but the lad deserved to get sent off. But he was quite naive, wasn't he?
They both should have been sent off. Barnsley was lucky to stay on because he did swing out his leg.
Oh yeah, he kicked him.
Yeah, he did. He took Rashford's legs out. But he still, any professional player should know by now not to get into someone's face like that and actually make contact with them on the head, which is what Rashford did. Obviously, why he got sent off. But as for the performance itself, yeah, I was disappointed in Burnley. I expected more from Burnley. But United, they had to grind out a result. After last weekend, they had to grind out a result.
Yeah, and to be honest, I was happy with how comfortable it was.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Burnley had a really terrible Europa League campaign and getting knocked out by Olympiacos, who are like the third best team in Greece now.
Yeah.
How the mighty have fallen. Marinakis, well done, mate. I'm not going to go into that because he's probably watching somewhere in Nottingham. He's going to send me desperate. So I don't know. But no, I think United, we did well to bounce back. I think it was a solid performance. Playing Fellaini as a deep line midfielder worked. We knew that it was going to be a physical encounter. You put Matic and Fellaini there. I think Pogba had a good game, barring the penalty miss, which, again, I don't like that run-up. I can't stand it.
I hate this run-up. I don't understand why players still do it. When you take a two-step or a very short run-up, or if you take an extra long run-up, you're going to miss.
Yeah, but it is what it is. And the main criticism I have, look, Sanchez had a fantastic game. Luke Shaw has been our best player this season. He was brilliant. Backline was superb. They didn't give Wood a sniff. And then when Vokes came on, I think he only had one chance. For me, Romelu Lukaku really needs to step up. I know his goal scoring record is fantastic. I know he scored 24, 25 goals for us in all competitions last season. But when you see the chances that he's missed, forget the two against Burnley. There was one against Spurs. The game could have been different if he scored that one early on. Against Brighton, the game could have been much different if he'd scored that early on. And people will say to me, oh, yeah, but he's got a great goal scoring record. Yes, I understand that. But that's an individual record.
Yeah.
Right? The difference between Lukaku missing those two chances against Spurs and Brighton is 6 points, effectively. Right? If we miss out on top four as a result by 5 points, what does that say? Do you remember when Ravanelli came to the Premier League, he scored 34 goals in all competitions.
Yeah.
He scored 17 in the Premier League. They got relegated. Yeah. They got to 2 cup finals and lost. So scoring 100 goals, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If the team doesn't win anything, doesn't matter how many goals you score at the end of the day. That's my opinion. Jed, what's your view on Romelu Lukaku? Because I know at Arsenal, you've been blessed with such fantastic strikers in the past with Ian Wright, with your Thierry Henry's. I'm not saying that Lukaku isn't anywhere near him. Sonogo, yeah, he's more like Sonogo at the moment than anyone else. But what's your take on Romelu Lukaku, mate?
You say that he's nowhere near him. He is. I genuinely think Romelu Lukaku, and I think we saw it in the World Cup. I think you saw, there was games and Lukaku was frightening. His pace was frightening at times. There was time. I remember I can't remember what game it was exactly, but he set off. It was over the halfway line, and I was like, I knew he was quick. I didn't know he was that quick. And it was scary sometimes on actually how good he is. And this is my problem. I think with Manchester United, I just think, you look at like Lukaku up front. I think he's brilliant. And I think he's a Premier League striker. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. For me, he's got it all. And then you've got Sanchez, who was superb at Arsenal. He's not doing anything at Manchester United. And, you've got the likes of Lingard, who actually had a really good World Cup. And you've got a lot of these players at Manchester United that, for me, and Pogba, he's a World Cup winner, but he's always in the news for he's not quite performing, he's not quite doing this. I just think it's down to one guy, unfortunately. I think it's Jose Mourinho. I think there's a massive issue at Manchester United. And people always say, "Oh, they're not as good as they were." Well, no, actually, look on paper. Yes, defensively, there is an issue there defensively, but from Pogba, from Sanchez, some of the players they've got are frighteningly good, and they get in any team in the world from me. But unfortunately, they're just not seem to be playing together. There's like a restriction there. They seem nervous when they go forward. There's just no flow. There's no freedom. It's not like the Manchester United we know. And let's be honest, we loved Manchester United when they were playing in their pomp and just Arsenal. There's no better games when Arsenal were just on fire and you couldn't stop them, and they were just splitting defence open. Manchester United kind of invented that style of just once they were on the attack, once they were pushing forward, it was like a steamroller. There's nothing you could do, and it's like they kind of have this real barrier that they don't do that anymore, and they've got some amazing players. And for me, Lukaku, he's right up there, but it's Jose Mourinho that's stifling the whole thing there. And the way he talks about, and he started it in his, in the pre-season friendlies, saying, we haven't been spending the money. This team's not good enough. And you think to yourself, you've got a manager saying that at the, let's arguably say the world's biggest club. How is that relating to on the field and getting your players pumped up for a great season? It's just beyond me. But Lukaku, put it this way, I would have him right now at Arsenal for 130 million. I genuinely, I think he's that good, and I think he'd get in. I think he'd get in every team. I really do. I can't see a team that would not get Lukaku and not play him, because I think he's that good.
Well, see, this is the thing that the thing about Lukaku, what I've always said, is that I know this is a bad example, but he reminds me of Danny Welbeck in the sense that when he's got time to think, he scuffs his lines. But when he acts on instinct, like the 2 goals he scored against Burnley, the header, the ball from Sanchez was perfect. Great header, and the finish for the second goal, we just ping-ponged everywhere, and he just fell to him. He lashed it in. That's vintage Lukaku. He's always been an instinctive striker, but when it comes to time to think, like for example, the one-on-one with Joe Hart, where he's gone round him and he's dithered, and then Ben Mee's caught him up. For me, that's the difference between a very good striker and a world-class striker. If that was Alan Shearer, if that was Ian Wright, if that was Thierry Henry, Ruud van Nistelrooy, if it was, I can go, the list goes on.
Sanchez, even.
Alexis Sanchez, that would have been in the back of the net. And this is my criticism of Lukaku. I understand, strikers do miss opportunities. He's not going to score every goal. But I'll tell you this, if you gave me Sergio Aguero right now, United will be top 4 easy. Easy.
Well, Sergio Aguero, for me, is still one of the #1 strikers in the world. The man is just a goal machine, and he's the epitome of consistency as well. You don't have a goal drought with Sergio Aguero. You just don't. But one thing I'll say is, when I was watching the Burnley game, I actually thought Lukaku looked slow. He looked a bit sluggish at the weekend, if you ask me.
But this is that is a striker that's a striker, no confidence for me. Like you say, he's dithering and lash it, have a go. Have a go at 25 yards. If you're getting played in, a striker should be like. Andy Cole. How many chances did Andy Cole miss? But he was always there. He used to always and that was confidence. It was pure confidence. And Lukaku just seems to me like he's so scared at the moment that he's not. And when he saw me against in the Belgian colours, it was a different Lukaku. It was a different Lukaku. We saw a Lukaku that used to run in the channels and show his pace, and they probably play a different system. But I just think that you've got a striker there who is a great striker, and he is proven. There's no doubt about it. He's proven, but I just don't think there's any confidence there, and unfortunately, I think it's down to the manager.
Jed, maybe the shirt is too heavy for him, mate. Because we've seen him score goals for West Brom, we've seen him score goals for Everton. Let's be 100% honest. Without mocking the other teams, United are one of the biggest clubs in the world. So the level of expectancy isn't here; it's up there. and especially when he's on big wages, he's come for a big fee. Don't get me wrong, he had a fantastic first season. To score over 20 goals on your debut season for United, it's fantastic. I think the last striker that did that was probably Van Nistelrooy that did that for us. We had the same with Louis Saha. Fantastic ability. His movement was great. His pace was great. A strong guy. He wasn't tall, but he was strong. Good in the air, but he was scared. There's just something about being a main striker at Man United where you have to have the right mentality and the right attitude. I understand what you're saying about Jose Mourinho, and the way that he says things, but does he say different things to the players? Because I remember he was accused of bullying Luke Shaw, but Luke Shaw went to Dubai, trimmed down, and has come out to say, well, there was no issue with Mourinho. He was always backing me. So are we seeing one thing in the media, and are we seeing something different happening? I don't know. I don't know.
I've always thought that, especially with Sanchez and Pogba, and maybe it is the same with Lukaku as well. I've always thought that Mourinho's tactics and strategy is too rigid, that he doesn't give them the freedom to play to their strengths.
Well, would you go all out attack when you've got a shocking back four?
Well, no, but when you've got a player like Sanchez, if you want to get the best out of Sanchez, you have to just say to him, just go and do whatever you want. Just go and do what you do best. You have to.
Well, that's what Arsenal said to him, and look what happened.
Yeah, but two years ago, in my opinion, Sanchez was probably one of the best on the planet. Because he had the freedom to do what he wanted to do, and he had the freedom to play however he wanted to play and run the team. And he would attack, he would take on players, he would score goals, he would create goals, he would track back, he would tackle. He played how he wanted to play, and he was phenomenal. And that's why United went for him.
And I think he lost interest at Arsenal at the end. There was obviously, he engineered the move, and he totally lost interest in it. And I think that's what was out. But I totally agree. I think at the time he was phenomenal for Arsenal, and it was like, right, can we build a team around Alexis Sanchez?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, again, we had Arsene Wenger and just the state of the players as it was at that time with Arsenal, and hopefully under Unai Emery it might change. But obviously we've got to wait and see that. But you talk about the weight of the shirt. Paul Pogba's not performing. He's a World Cup winner, and he played for Juventus. And I say, I don't buy into that. I think you could argue that Paul Pogba is the weight of the Manchester United shirt too heavy for him with the performance he's putting in. He passes it out of play at times. You think, what's going on here? The guy's a World Cup winner. Do you know what I mean? There's not many people on the planet, not many footballers on the planet that are a World Cup winner and influential in that as well. And same at Juventus, and that's why people really liked him. We've also got to say as well, when Dennis Bergkamp moved from Ajax to Inter Milan, he got absolute pelters because he wasn't very good. And the reason why is because actually his family didn't settle. His wife at the time just couldn't fit into the Italian mold, and the kid, I think he had one of the kids at the time. It just didn't settle, so affected him. Because obviously, like anything, you got to work, and say the wife's at home, and you come home and she's moaning. You go to work, it's playing on your mind, isn't it? You're going to give your best because you're worried about your home life and your family life, and that's understandable. He went to London, and it all changed. He became, his family really enjoyed time there, so of course he enjoyed his time there, and that's, I think, unfortunately in football we forget that, don't we? And we forget that. And I suppose Jose Mourinho is living in a hotel, at Manchester, and he takes trips back to London. People that have done that line of work, are you enjoying your time in a hotel? Are you enjoying time away from your family? Are you getting it in the neck? Is when he, finishes on a Monday and he's going home and he has to go back to training. Is his wife, Jose Mourinho, saying, come on, this needs doing, that needs doing, or we need to look after this, we need to deal with this, and he's obviously going to, it's weird, but it's real life situations that unfortunately the media will never see. We'll never see as supporters, but that's actually real life, and we never discuss it because we don't see them as sort of just football managers and everything's rosy because they're on £9 million a year or whatever it is. But I think there can be some truth in that. Whether that's the same with Paul Pogba, whether, I mean, it can't be the same for Lukaku, because obviously, you know, he was from Everton, and I don't doubt he lives around the Cheshire area, so all be settled. But you know, there is arguments there to be had. But weight of the shirt, I don't know. I thought Belgium, you know, they got knocked out by France. They were third in the World Cup, knocked out by France in the semi-final, which really, let's be honest, it should have been a France-Belgium final. So I don't buy into that, but I just think he's being stifled by the manager.
I agree.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Right, Jed, this time last year, Sean Dyche was actually tipped to be a future England manager after an impressive start to the season, beating champions Chelsea on the opening day and earning a point at Spurs. I think it was a Chris Wood last-minute goal there at Wembley. Has Burnley's Europa League exploits hurt them somewhat, and will their elimination from the competition be a blessing in disguise?
No, they're going to get relegated this season.
He's a Preston fan, remember?
I'm not Preston.
I'm joking.
I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm based in near Blackpool. But what I'm saying is, in my other line of work, I deal a lot with Burnley. So I know Burnley. I know a lot of the fans. I was actually at the Olympiacos, the away game I was in their sort of Turf Moor fan zone when they had a big screen on there, doing reports into that. I really like Sean Dyche. I don't think actually for any football fan, if you're not a Blackburn fan, that is, doesn't like Sean Dyche, because I think what he's done has been incredible for the club, for the town, for the community, and for football. I think it's a really good story that it can be done. You know, you can build a team, you can get a team in the Premier League, you can sustain a team in the Premier League without spending masses of money. Unfortunately, I think he's fallen into the trap of trying to play a bit more expansive football. Yep. And the worry is that, you know, people talk about this. Is it a blessing in disguise that they've been knocked out of Europe? I thought they should have gone for, and we talked before we came on air, didn't we, about achievements as a fan. What do you want to see your team do? I think Burnley fans wanted to see their team in the group stages of the Europa League, because, I mean, when you look at who Olympiacos, they're facing Milan, I think they've got Betis coming as well in their group. You know, you've got to think, if they were coming to Turf Moor, AC Milan, Betis, I mean, as a Burnley fan, that'd be incredible. That would be incredible. The nights that you're going to get. 50 odd years ago, it was the last time Burnley were in Europe. So that's a whole generation haven't seen Burnley in Europe. And then you could have had those big giant teams of Europe coming to Turf Moor, and of course you going away. So I mean, don't get me wrong, the away performance actually was really good. I thought they were unlucky. The second half, probably the heat did them, as well as Gibson got sent off, which was ridiculous. At home, they made changes again, but I think what I witnessed in, unfortunately, that Europa League, and especially in the Premier League, I don't know about you guys, but I do a predictor league where you guess the scores. Last year, my absolute number one on the sort of score sheet, Burnley 1-0 or Burnley 2. You know, 1-0, 2-0, especially at Turf Moor. Burnley 1-0, and you're pretty much guaranteed that we're going to do it. Unfortunately, this season, they're trying to be a bit more expansive. They're trying to play a bit more sort of attacking football, but they're not getting the basics right. And I don't think, and their squad isn't big enough, as we know. I don't think it's good enough, that unfortunately those defenders and that defence is not quite how it was. And I think also teams are starting to work them out a little bit more. And because they're playing a bit more expansive, they're a bit more open. And, you know, Fulham scoring 4 past them, that would never have happened last year. Olympiacos scoring 3 past them. 2 were set pieces, and that's basic stuff for the Sean Dyche team. They say Manchester United getting 2 goals. I just think that, unfortunately, as much as I would hate to see it, because I'd love to see Burnley in the Premier League, because I say I'm close to it. I know a lot of the fans. I'm really fearful in the season, and I just think Burnley will go down, and that's because they're not scoring the goals like they did last year, or they are scoring the goals like they did last year, like a 1 or 1-0. But unfortunately, they're letting 2 goals in and 3 goals in and 4 goals in. So therefore, those sort of points or those 3 points, it's not happening, and they're turning into defeats, and it's happening already. And people saying being knocked out of Europe, I don't think so, because when they've changed teams for Europe and Premier League, I don't see a massive difference in quality. I actually see very similar players, and they're just getting a rest. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think the quality is too different. And it does worry me that I just think they're not quite the same team, and I don't think they're strong defensively this year as they were last year. Hence why I think they'll struggle.
The thing is, mate, you mentioned Ben Gibson earlier. I know he got sent off against Olympiacos, but with the greatest respect to him and Joe Hart and Matej Vydra, I'm not sure they're the signings that Burnley needed to actually build on last season. I mean, when they let Scott Arfield go to Rangers and Jonathan Waters go out on loan to Ipswich, it confused me a little, because I'm thinking these two players, you know, 29 and 34. I know, you know, Jonathan Waters is getting on a bit, but Stoke really missed him last season, didn't they? And it's almost as if history is repeating. It's almost as if, remember back in the day, whenever you sign Neil Redfern, you're going to get relegated. Yeah. Letting Jonathan Waters go, you're going to get relegated. That's just how it seems at the moment.
Yeah. No. I think there's a case in point. I know Sean Dyche. I don't know whether or not it's true or not, but he's very. If the player was 34, 35, but was good for the team, as in morale, as in spirit, he wouldn't let them go. I mean, Andre Gray, they bought for a record fee and then they let him go. And people couldn't quite understand it. But, you know, I know inside the club, he was a disruptive influence. And that's why they let him go. And he's, you know, they re-signed and they ended up, you know, it wasn't a problem for them. But I said they had the best season they had ever last year. I'm not saying that's the case with these, but I think Sean Dyche is one of them. He would keep players. If they were influential just in the dressing room, they would keep those players where they were. But again, I think what he's trying to do is sort of build this more attractive football for Burnley Football Club. He's trying it this year, but I don't know. I mean, the problem is they've got, like you say about areas on the pitch, they've now got 3 England goalies in their ranks, you know, with Heaton and Pope and Hart. And, you know, you look at the sort of the team elsewhere. I mean, Vydra isn't even playing really at the moment. So, you know, like Woods, he's okay. I think he's okay. I don't think he's great. I really like Cork. I think Cork in the middle is very good. But there's, you know, when you look at, like I say, when they swap their teams and swap their formations and rested players, it just really worried me that the quality for Burnley is just not there. And they don't, and what Sean Dyche certainly doesn't do, is panic buy. And he did say, he said he was going to wait for Europa League. When that ended, he was then going to see if they needed more players, hence if they got through to the group stages. But remember, they got through to the 3rd round. The transfer window had closed by then. So then there was loan players that they could, which let's be honest, I think in the Premier League, loan players I don't think are the best thing. You're not really going to strengthen your squad a great deal, because, you know, who you're going to loan in that would do that? Why would a player be let out? But, you know, so I think, I don't know. They just concern me, Burnley, and I hate to say it, but yeah, I think they're going to struggle.
I think you're the first ever person in the show to say Burnley worry you. It's try with Burnley, to be fair, but, you know, let's talk about another team that's joining Burnley in the bottom 3, and that's West Ham. They brought in Manuel Pellegrini. He's the manager that has been entrusted with £100 million, and he's brought in so many new faces, and it was always going to be a risk. And it surely doesn't help when ex-pros and legends like Tony Cottee come out and say, well, you should have kept David Moyes.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I told you so, because we're only 4 games in. But I did say at the beginning, I think we're our pre-season show. I don't rate Pellegrini, and he's proven me right so far. So long may it continue. I'm not particularly a fan of West Ham. So as long as they're losing under Pellegrini, by all means continue. Why stop your enemies making a mistake?
He doesn't mince his words, Jed. He just doesn't mince his words.
I was at work. We have sort of Premier League TV at work, so I was able to watch West Ham Wolves. It was one of my sort of games of the day. Do you know what I mean? We Chelsea and Bournemouth. I thought these two are going to be really interesting games to watch, and I kept a really close eye on West Ham and Wolves. And it weren't a bad game actually, but the goal, another mistake. It was just a terror, like a schoolboy mistake. It was horrendous. Are they? I don't know. They spent like Everton did. Remember when Everton spent all that money and it just obviously didn't work? Yeah, and Koeman when is that what? Unfortunately, is that what we're going to see at the moment? That Pellegrini has spent 100 million. It's not worked for him. Sam Allardyce will come in and shore them up and get them safe and keep them safe, and then a manager will come in. And obviously they'll keep that £100 million talent and maybe, increase a little bit more next year, and they'll kick on. Exactly what sort of Everton are doing. I don't know. I think the worry is I think it was knocking about in the papers today that if they were to get rid of Pellegrini, it's going to cost them 15 million or so. I can't remember what it was. But it was going to cost them a lot of money on top of this 100 million. And then if he's going to bring in the likes of Big Sam, he knows he can command what he wants because he knows exactly what he's there to do, and he knows how much it's worth to a club to stay in the Premier League. Because you go down, it's so hard to come back up, and Stoke are sort of finding that now with the results they're getting. So, yeah, 100 million. If you go down, I mean, what a gamble that is to lose. And I'm the same as John. Pellegrini at Manchester City, he never excited me. I never thought, wow, this guy, he's got something about him. I never saw that. At West Ham, I think, I'm kind of loath to say this, but I think the names turned the owners on at West Ham, and unfortunately, I think they've been kicked in the teeth a little bit because the signings they've made. They've got some decent players, and I know West Ham fans at work, and they're saying the player we miss is Andy Carroll, and you're like 100 million, and you're talking about the player you miss is Andy Carroll. I mean, it's just but that's the mentality of the West Ham fan at the moment, and the mentality is they're desperate. They are desperate, and unfortunately, I can see it. Pellegrini goes, Allardyce comes in, he keeps them in the Premier League, and then they look for a new manager and build next season. But
I just want to say thank you for your comments on Pellegrini, because it's exactly what I've been thinking for a long time. And I think you're spot on. It is going to be a case of Sam Allardyce comes back, and it's going to be back to long ball football, and it's going to be back to physical football and unattractive football. And then the West Ham fans are going to be moaning that even though they're doing well, they're not playing attractive football. I think you're absolutely spot on. And it's just a case of when now rather than if Pellegrini gets sacked.
I think it's quite funny, Jed, how you said that the name Manuel Pellegrini kind of turned the owners on, given that what David Sullivan is known for. Won't go into that.
Him in the Fiesta magazine or whatever.
Yeah. I almost got myself into trouble last week for a comment about Alisson and his 3-on-1 situation, but we'll go into that again. James Jones is a good friend of the show. He hosts the Fixture in Focus podcast. Went on Last Sport Radio today, and he said it's about time the West Ham fans forgot about the bowling ground. He's a West Ham fan himself, and he said that perhaps the club can't progress until the fans forget about the bowling ground and start making this new stadium as their home and creating an intimidating atmosphere. I mean, you guys support a club that have been in a new stadium for a good 10 years or so, I guess. What does he say? Does it hold any weight?
It's hard. I personally, we're a good 12 years or so into Emirates Stadium. I still miss sitting at the North Bank in Highbury. I'm glad where I sit now, because we're actually in quite a noisy part of probably the only noisy part of the stadium. But
the exit.
No, it's not like that at all. But I still miss the North Bank. I really do. I don't know if that's affecting the players, so to speak. I mean, Highbury was a much narrower pitch. and that played to our advantage at the time. But that was
the old adage: it's a traditional football stadium.
But that was like talking like 5-6 teams ago now, really.
Yeah.
So they should have moved on by now. The same with West Ham. They bought a whole new team. They need to move on from it.
Yeah.
You know, the players for West Ham. I don't think anyone has ever. Did any of them play at the Berlin? I can't remember who they.
Oh yeah,
no,
Mark Noble did. The central defender, what's his name? From New Zealand. I forget his name now, but he's injured. He's always injured.
It's like I get what you're saying with Highbury. I think Arsenal were in a totally different position though. Arsenal needed to move because of the brand of the club and the globalisation that football was becoming. And you know, Arsenal is a big football club, and I don't think West Ham are, you know, in the bracket of an Arsenal as yet, as in a worldwide brand. You know, I mean, the problem is the Emirates. It's quite hard to get a ticket. I got my ticket for Watford today, and you know, I know it's quite hard for Arsenal fans to get the ticket because it's full of tourists. You know what I mean? And the London Stadium will turn into that a little bit because obviously the amount of seats that are available. But I think the problem is, I think Arsenal needed to move away from Highbury to up the revenue to get the players in, and that was obviously the ambition, etc., that we were being sold. That was why we were moving. I think West Ham and West Ham fans, I think it's tough to go because there's so many conspiracies, there's so many conversations that people have about, you know, moving into the London Stadium and the way it was done and the deal, etc., which, you know, certainly we're going to throw around speculation if we go into that. And there's lots of stories online to go into that if you want to read about them. But I think, unfortunately for West Ham fans, I think, yes, you can. I know what they're saying about the ball. It was an unbelievable stadium, Upton Park. It really was. It was an unbelievable Premier League ground, an unbelievable football ground. It was probably one of my favourite away grounds, just because of the atmosphere that it had and how passionate fans were, etc. But you know what? It's done. You ain't going back there. You know, and that's the thing. You're not going back. You're at the London Stadium. That's where you are. So there's no point in complaining. And I get it. I get people why they're upset, and I get people why they're frustrated. And I know season ticket holders. I got a cab. I think it was last year, by a taxi driver who was like, I've been a season ticket holder, I think, since 1970 odd or whatever it was, and he was like, I had my seat at the bowling ground, and there was about 40 guys around us. We never saw each other apart from that Saturday when we all went, and we actually sat and we could talk because we knew each other. And when we went to the new ground, they split us all up. They just put us in season tickets here, there, and ever. So a lot of people have lost sort of friendships, if you will, over moving into that, and lost their little groups and their little pockets, which create atmosphere, which create that, you know, sense of emotion, sense of fun, songs that come out of those little groups. As we all know, when you take bus rides away from home, it's just all about thinking up new songs of you know, what you can sing that day, that night, whatever, and that weekend. I think the unfortunate thing is, though, for West Ham fans, is that they're there. So you either go and you support your team, or you don't go. And he, the taxi driver, he said, I'm not going. I'm not going anymore. I'm not going to pay my season ticket, and I'm not going to go. And it kind of out of principle. Now, whether he's kept up with that, I don't know. I've never seen him again. But I think there's a lot of fans that took that stand. But like I say, I think as you're a Man United fan. Do you remember that whole the green and yellow and
the green and gold? Yeah.
And you're like, I don't ever see that anymore. I hardly see that anymore.
It wasn't working because let's be honest, we faced facts that the Glazers were never going to sell, and when they did decide to sell, it's going to be on their terms. So
what do you do? Yeah. So what do you do? And that's my point. It's like, I understand the protests are there, and I think protests are good because, you know, you can't just let people, you know, run and steamroll over anything political, over sport, over, you know, whatever you stand for. But at the same point, it's like, you know, United fans sort of realise, well, you know, if you don't go to the ground, somebody else will have your season ticket because that's just what it is at Manchester United. It's such a massive football club. West Ham, it's gone. you know, and you can look back and you can remember and you can think how great it was. But unfortunately, you ain't going back there. So you're either at the London Stadium and you go and watch, you go and support your team, or you don't. And unfortunately, they're the facts of what's happening at West Ham at the moment. And it's a shame. And like I say, I'm really sorry for it. Brilliant football ground to go to. But, you know, that's where they are now. And you can't, it's Arsenal. You can't change. We're at the Emirates and we ain't going back to the Highbury.
Yeah, the funny thing is, what I think has happened is right by the stadium is Stratford Westfield. And back in the day, a football fan would go to the pub with their mates, their wives and their girlfriends would stay at home. Now it's, oh yeah, drop me off at the shopping centre. And then when you're done, come and pick me up. And the next thing you know, the man goes in there to pick up his missus and she's in the Gucci section. So yeah, his team's just got hammered 4-0 by Bournemouth. Yeah, and now it's walking $2,000 on a bag. That's why they don't want to go there. Sorry, you were saying.
I was going to say, I don't think fan protests work at all.
They don't.
I don't think they do these whole banners flying over stadiums and protests before or after games. I don't think they work.
The thing is, the United one is different because what's happening is Ed Woodward is feeding a lot of members of the media, right? And he's feeding them stories. So they're not going to turn on him. So Jose Mourinho has always looked as the bad person. What's happening now, the fans are like, no, Ed Woodward is the main cause of all of this, right? We want people to know that we're backing the manager. We don't want him to go. You're going to hear United fans saying, oh, we want him to go because because of his brand of football, but they're not seeing the bigger picture. The bigger picture are the owners, who obviously don't want to sell just yet, and the CEO that brokered the purchase of United by the Glazers. So we can go back 13 years.
Yeah, I mean, looking at from a West Ham point of view, they've protested. They got their manager out, and then they brought in Pellegrini, and it hasn't worked, and they're going to protest again.
They didn't protest to get David Moyes out.
They protest against the owners. Yeah, they'll continue their protests against the owners, and Arsenal fans have done it as well. I mean, I was never a fan of Gazidis. I was even a member of the Black Scarf movement as well. And
how did that go?
Well, yeah, have you heard of the Black Scarf movement? There you go. So, I mean, his way.
Premier League football, I agree. I don't think protests work because there's a stat, isn't there, with the Premier League money they get now. Actually, you don't need any fans in the stadium; you still make profit.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
I mean, like I say, I live very close to Blackpool and Blackpool Football Club. When we talk about protests, that did work. I mean, they don't go anymore. There was 16,000 on in the Premier League. There's the best part of 1,000 on now because they do this not a penny more movement, and they haven't been I think for 3 or 4 years. I can't remember how long it is now, but it does work. That the money's down. I mean, obviously as well, the owner Owen Oyston got taken to court. He lost. He was found guilty of asset stripping, etc. So he has to pay back the president, former president, all the money that he put in to build the South Stand and the profits that came from that. But what I'm saying here, this is about a 4-year. I'll say 4 year, maybe longer, but they've not been. So these are fans that have not been to their football club, refused to go, and it's still going on now. And the Oyster family still own the football club, and they're still in ownership of it. So and the worry is for some of these fans is that the club could go down and in administration and lose points and potentially going non-league before they get the football club back, or someone has to come in and buy it. The worry is like I say, it can work lower league because they need supporters and stuff like that. Premier League, you don't need any person to sit on the seat and buy a season ticket or a ticket to make money. So you could actually, everyone say, we're not going to go, we're not going to support a team. But actually, it doesn't matter because they'll still make money. And the problem is with the Premier League, it's so global. And we do it when we go abroad, like you go to America. If you went to New York, the first thing you look at are the Yankees on, are the Giants on, are the Knicks on. I want to take in a game because it's sort of entertainment and we all like sports. You'll go and watch it. And I think the problem is when people come to London and when people come to Manchester, they'll buy a ticket and they don't care about protests. And Manchester United is such a global brand, and West Ham United is now in this London stadium, and it's built as this, you know, the Olympic Stadium as it was, and people actually go and see it. Just it's a tourist destination, just as you say. And people go, oh, there's a football game. Oh, Premier League football. We've heard of that. Let's buy a ticket and go. And I've got to say, I've got friends who are West Ham fans, and they say, you know, at Upton Park, you used to go and you were sat next to a West Ham fan. Now you go. And, you know, I mean, I saw a picture at the weekend. There was a fan there eating a bucket of popcorn. I mean, what is that about? What is that about? But, you know, that's the reality of, you know, it happens at the Emirates. It happens at the Emirates. You see people there, and they've no idea what's going on. They've no idea. And a goal goes in, they just jump up and cheer, and they don't know what's going on. But, you know, they have every right to be there because they bought a ticket. They're putting the money in the club because they just want to be entertained. They're on the holidays, and they'll go home and say, I watched the Premier League football match. If we went to America, we'd probably do the same and come back with some great memories. And unfortunately, that's the power of the Premier League that, as you say, protests now, kind of dead in the water, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, as a season ticket holder, I mean, all right, I only got my season ticket this year, but like a few home games I've been to, I've had different people sit around me.
Yeah.
You're going to get that. You're going to get that because what fans do, they buy the season tickets, and because they don't want to lose them, they rent them out.
They rent them out.
We know people that do that. We know people that do that.
When was the last time you went to a United game, Stel?
I stopped going. I stopped going 8 years ago. I gave up my season ticket, and it's the best decision I've made in a long time because the nail in the coffin for me was when we played Leeds in the FA Cup. Right, Leeds historically, they're the arch rival.
Yeah.
You know, Liverpool, City, and Leeds. Right,
Sure.
They're the three teams that we despise the most. Leeds came to town. They outsung us. I know it was an FA Cup game, so they had 10%, but our fans were not up for it. And I'm thinking, okay, that's not fair, actually. The majority of our fans weren't up for it. A lot of them were, well, it's only Leeds. The hardcores are like, right, let's get behind. But the thing is, they're scattered all over the stadium, so you can't really generate an atmosphere. There have been times where we've got a scene section, and that hasn't stayed. But there have been times where you're trying to start a song. Like me and my friend, we sat next to each other. We're the seasons to get together for like 7 years. We tried to get songs going, but people wouldn't join in. And you're thinking, what's the point? Away games are completely different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
Away games are completely different.
I always love an away game.
But see, this is the problem because it's become very sanitized as well.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I understand there's certain things you can't say. I understand. But when you're seeing, you know, sheets on your seat saying like they did at Anfield, you can't sing this song, you can't say this word, you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, what can you do? No, let's just sit on our hands and clap, and let's not clap too loud just in case someone next to us gets an injury or they no, it's all nonsense at the moment, and we could go on all day about this. But let's talk about your boys, both of you, your boys, Arsenal. They scraped a 3-2 win against Cardiff. Are you both concerned with the defensive issues? I know they haven't really been addressed properly as far as I'm concerned. And I know Cardiff got in behind them far too many times, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. The defensive frailties are there for everyone to see, really.
Sorry to cut you off, but is Unai Emery giving Cech enough rope to hang himself? Do you think that's why he's not thrown in Leno? He's testing him.
It's a good point. It's a good question. You know, all I can say is that it's very clear that Cech is not comfortable on the ball, but. And he's good, but he's good in the captain's armband as well. Don't forget, you know, which I personally don't agree with having a goalkeeper as your captain because I can't.
Dino's off. Come on.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about in the
Gigi Buffon.
And then I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in the sense of the leadership ability because how can you be able to shout instructions to your striker with 60,000 screaming fans around you? You know. But
this goes back to what I said before about Arsenal, how they don't have leaders all over the pitch.
They don't have leaders all over the pitch. No, you're right. But the defense and the goalkeeping position is a real concern. I've got nothing against playing the ball out from the back, but someone of Cech's experience and intelligence should know when he can and can't do it. And he just seems like every single time I've got to play it out the back, There are times when you cannot play it out from the back, and every single team has already clocked us and how to stop us doing that.
Do you know what the funny thing is? I was thinking about this today. Peter Cech is probably the last of the traditional goalkeepers, and by that I mean your David Seamans, your Peter Schmeichels, all these goalkeepers. They were tall, you know,
big.
Do you know what I mean? They weren't fantastic on the ball. Their distribution wasn't perfect. Peter Schmeichel's best distribution was his throwing, his throwing ability. now we've seen the evolution of the goalkeeper, where they're more like outfield players. Or we've seen the likes of Edison. We've seen the likes of even Fabian Barthez was probably the start of that new generation in terms of a ball-playing goalkeeper.
Very good at it.
He still is, and Leno is in that mould. So perhaps, as I said, perhaps Unai Emery is saying to certain players like Granit Xhaka, like he's saying to Peter Cech, okay, I don't want to damage team morale here because it's already rock bottom since Arsene Wenger decided to fall on this sword or whatever, and he's probably thinking, I don't want to upset main players, like the experienced players, because they're the ones I can call upon to say, look, okay, I know you're not playing, but have a word with that one, give him a bit of a talking to, and he probably doesn't want to upset these players by dropping them straight away and putting in these guys. That's why I think Torreira he's not fully in the fold, because he wants to give Xhaka the chance to say, as I said, give him enough rope to hang himself. He'd say to him, right, you haven't been playing well enough, you're not playing. Same with Ozil.
Hopefully that is the case, especially with Xhaka, because Xhaka's been shocking.
I like him though. I think he's a good player.
I think there is a player in there, but we just can't seem to get this player out of him. He has not put in a good performance at Arsenal. He hasn't. He hasn't put in a memorable performance where you say, oh my God, he was the best player on the pitch. Even Ozil, who we have seen over the years, comes and goes. But when Ozil is on it, there is no one better. There's no one better. Lacazette, we've seen him play bad. We've seen him play brilliantly at the weekend. I thought he was fantastic. Aubameyang is a player who he's going to score goals. And he's always smiling. He's always full of confidence. Ramsey, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Ramsey. Again, he could have really bad off days. But when he's on, he is on. But Xhaka, I have never seen him in a game where I thought, wow, that guy is impressive. But I'm still sure that there is a player in there. We just can't seem to get it out.
I just think that they got so used to playing a certain way with a manager that kind of let them do their own thing, if that makes sense.
Much, yes.
They get a bit blasé.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But Lacazette actually, he just put it out there, and he basically said in an interview in the last couple of days that it's like with children and learning to play football again. But he said it in a positive way, because they haven't been learning how to play the game. They haven't been learning tactics. Unai Emery has got one hell of a difficult job, because he is having to take them right back to the very basics.
Precisely.
And he's breaking them down and building them up again. So maybe you're right about Xhaka and Cech, that he has given them the rope to hang themselves, so to speak. But I think Cech's time is very limited. I think the only reason he's still playing is because he's not confident that there's an outfield player to lead the team until Koscielny comes back. And even Koscielny is making noises about leaving as well. He
won't be the same player. I'm sorry. When you have that Achilles injury more than once,
he won't be the same player at all. So then you got to think who's going to be the outfield captain of Arsenal. I don't think Ramsey is the right person. Me personally, probably give it to Aubameyang.
Yeah,
I'd probably give it to Aubameyang. Yeah.
Okay.
He's vocal. He leads from the front. He leads by example. The guy is always trying to get on the ball. He's always trying to play positively. He's trying to get forward thinking, and Arsenal's a forward thinking team. He wants to get in there into the box and score goals, and he's just always confident. And you need someone with confidence to lead your team.
I'd give it to Monreal, to be fair, but
Monreal probably deserves it, but I don't think he's vocal enough.
No? Okay, interesting. Jed, we mentioned Lacazette. He and Aubameyang really look like they're enjoying their football at the club. They'll really cause some damage when they click, won't they? I mean, personally, I think you've got 50 goals in them at least.
I think they're two incredible strikers that I think Arsenal are very lucky to have. I think great signings. They have to play together, though. He started off with this sort of, one-off kind of thing. And I think they have to start together. Them two just have to start together. It's simple as that. And I think they're realising that now, and which is good. But as I say, Unai Emery's come in, and I said at the very start of the season, people asked me about Arsenal, what I expect from Arsenal and how I feel about it. And I went, this is the most excited I've been for a very long time as an Arsenal fan, because under Arsene Wenger, I knew they were going to finish around the top four, and I knew they were going to have a decent run in the FA Cup. And that was every season. And this season, I don't know how it's going to go. We could finish 10th and have some great wins and some horrendous losses on the way. And we could maybe go quite far in the League Cup, but get knocked out in the third round. or we could end up having a really good season under Unai. You know, I had no idea how this season's going to pan out at the start of the season, because it was, and that excited me a little bit as an Arsenal fan. It was the first time actually we were quite excited about how the season goes. Obviously, Manchester City and Chelsea, they were two tough games to start with. I didn't, and a lot of Arsenal fans, when they lost 2 games, were like, "Well, I don't know about this Unai Emery." I'm like, right, be realistic. Manchester City are one of the best teams in Europe. We're nowhere near them. So to get a draw against Manchester City for me would have been a brilliant result. We got beat, so I expected that. Chelsea away, we have a terrible record against Chelsea away anyway. I also thought, you know what, if we get a draw there, that would be a really good result. And you know, to be honest, we had so many chances to put that, and maybe even get a win out of that one, but we lost that one. It didn't concern me. I thought there was a bit of pressure on that West Ham game because it was at home. I felt we should have beat West Ham, and we did. Cardiff away, a great game, actually, a really good game of Premier League football. Plenty of mistakes because the defences are shocking. Cardiff aren't great. I think they're sort of building themselves for a championship as well, and obviously trying to stay in the Premier League. But you know, they came through and they won. So I think, as an Arsenal fan, I'm realistic this season. I'm going into games, you know, like I say, we've got Everton coming up. That's a tough game, and I'd take a draw. Watford at home, I think that's another really tough game with the way Watford has started. And you know what? I think, you know, if we sneak a win there, that'd be a good reason. We've got to realise we aren't Manchester City and at Liverpool's level. We're not there. So we've got to realise that. But I think also what we've got to see is Unai Emery starting to come in and change things around. And I really like Torreira. You talk about captain. I would really like, I mean, it's probably too soon for because he's a new player. I'd love to see him having a go. I mean, he made the assist at the weekend. I'd love to see him playing more and getting involved more. I'd love to see more of Torreira. Do you know what? And I don't know. I mean, the defence is all over the place, and I think he knows that, Emery, with what he signed in the summer as well. And I think he was trying to plug gaps. He knows that, and that's what I mean. I think we're going to have a bit of a turbulent season, but I think they'll build, and I think. But our strike force and our power of attack is fantastic. I agree, Xhaka. I've never really got him. I've never really understood Granit Xhaka. He's got a brilliant strike on him, but unfortunately, that's not good enough. And Cech, I don't think he's been the same since his head injury. I really don't. I just don't think he's been the same. I mean, he was unbelievable with Chelsea. He got that head injury. It was horrible at the time. But since then, I just don't think he's been the same goalkeeper. So I'd love to maybe see Leno get a chance. There's, you know, obviously a lot of talk about him, and people really rating goalkeepers. Ex-goalkeepers think he's a real quality. So, you know, again, that's what I mean. I think as an Arsenal fan, I'd love to see them experiment a bit. I think this is a kind of a season where they can experiment and can lose some games. And unfortunately, Arsenal fans will be upset because they think we should be top 4 and winning the Premier League. But we've got to be a little bit realistic. And I think this is the kind of season where he can experiment with players and bring them in and go, I'm building, I'm looking at what I've got to then move forward. And it might be a rocky road, but hey, just stick with it, get behind our team. And you know what? Let's enjoy a bit of what could be. I mean, what a game on Sunday. It was Cardiff. We you know, it's weird to say this, but what a game. And we came through it and we won 3-2. And genuinely, when Lacazette smashed that into the roof of the net, I was off the sofa and I was absolutely loving it. And it's weird to say because we should have been, I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, again, like how have we nearly drawn that game, or how have we nearly lost that game? But, you know, at the weekend, I was just loving the fact that, you know, we've nicked it at the final death, and what a fantastic goal it was. So I'm being realistic as an Arsenal fan. You know, I'd love to say we're going to win everything and be in the Champions League, we're going to win the Premier League, we're going to win it, but we're not. But I'm excited with Unai Emery. I'm excited at the potential of what could happen. And for me, the signings he made in the summer, I thought were good signs. And as an Arsenal fan. But like I say, I'm expecting a turbulent year, but I'm expecting actually a bit of an exciting year because I'm going into every game and I don't know what the result's going to be. Which I think before, when you're under Wenger, you kind of knew exactly what season. I could go start of August. I'll predict where we're going to be in May, and it kind of leveled it out that way, which was a bit boring year after year.
I don't know what you guys think about that because I thought it was a bit cut off there. When I look at Arsenal and, for example, the game against Cardiff the other day at 2-2, going forward, yeah, you were fluid and the passing was great, but there didn't seem much urgency. There seemed more of a patient build-up. Whereas I remember under Wenger, even until his final game, if Arsenal were losing or drawing or chasing a game, you'd see a more sense of urgency, players willing to get in the box, and there'd be more movement. It just seems a little bit more static. But I'm going to go to something that Paul Merson said. I mean, I've just shown you. It's in the Express. He said that Arsenal have made, or Unai Emery has made no difference since joining the club. And I think Paul Merson really needs to choose his words because he's looking like a complete idiot these days, with the greatest respect, because you can see what Unai Emery is trying to do. It's not a quick fix. If Paul Merson casts his mind back to when Arsene Wenger first took charge of Arsenal, it took him half a season to get Arsenal playing the way they wanted. And his first full season, he won the league. Yeah, and in fact, won the double. So, you know, let's be fair to Emery. This guy isn't a mug. He's won numerous Europa Leagues. He's won the Ligue 1 in France. I know you could say it's a one-team league, but you still need to win it.
Yeah, of course,
the pressure is there.
Yeah,
the guy knows what he's doing. And you can see from the training videos that we've seen on Twitter, you can see everything, the way that Arsenal playing, the faith that he's having in players like Guendouzi. And I just think the guy needs time. And what I like about a lot of Arsenal fans at the moment is that they're willing to give him that chance. They're saying, right, we'll take a season without Champions League football. We'll take a season, you know, of say mediocrity.
Yeah.
So long as we see improvement. Yeah. And you're seeing progress, and that is effectively what you want. Rome wasn't built in a day. No. Don't get me wrong, it took Guardiola a season to get it right.
Of course, yeah. But this is I mean, we have this conversation every time I go to a game. It's like, I just want to see progress. You know, personally, the game against Chelsea, I don't think we deserve to lose that. I think we deserve the point out of that game. The Man City game,
the amount of chances you missed, you should want that.
Well, exactly. But the Man City game, I didn't expect anything from that. I just wanted to see them put in effort. The West Ham game, I think the scoreline flattered us. I thought we played awful, but at least we played awful.
Because much was about the defensive frailties. Once he gets that sorted,
and then the same thing with Cardiff as well. But yeah, it does come from the defense. But what you were saying about the lack of urgency, I think actually Unai Emery is actually trying to get them to play, to stay calm when the pressure is on, to stay calm and let the moment come to them. As for Lacazette and Aubameyang, as Jed was saying, these two guys, they need to play together. Not only do they need to play together, they actually want to play together. It's not a competition. It's like, I need to play up front. No, I need to play up front.
The camaraderie is there.
Yeah, they really want to play together.
Exactly.
As well, what you say, what Paul Merson said. I mean, I can't believe. I've not read that, but I'm gonna, because I can't believe he said that. I mean, that's just the most bizarre statement I've ever heard.
Let me quote it, because it says here we go. Merson admits it will take time for Emery to turn it around completely at Arsenal, but he says when he watches them play, it's as if Wenger was still in charge of the Gunners. I would say no different at the moment, Merson told Sky Sports News. I've watched Arsenal, and if you didn't know, you would still think Arsene Wenger was the manager.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
But also, you've got to remember that Arsene Wenger was at that football. Arsene Wenger was Arsenal Football Club, and you could still argue still is Arsenal Football Club. I mean, he brought Arsenal Football Club to the Emirates. He kind of built the Emirates with the kind of the money and the investment and his success, and that was all through Arsene Wenger. So, you know what? 5 games, what we are into a season. We are still seeing, because we've still got Xhaka and we've still got that sort of defence and we've still got Petr Cech, and you know, of course it's changing, but this is what I mean. I think we're going to have a turbulent season where Unai Emery, I think, is trying to stamp his authority on things, and that's fine. But you're going to see players slip into, you know, what they've been used to. And you've got to remember, I mean, Arsene Wenger was there for 20 odd years. When you leave, like Sir Alex Ferguson, I mean, he's still there at the football club.
Yeah.
You know, and he's, you know, when the camera's at Old Trafford, you always see a shot of Sir Alex Ferguson when he's there. You know, and that's the thing.
This is the thing. Sorry to interrupt, Jed, but it's good that Arsene Wenger isn't there because
it
adds pressure. It adds pressure to the manager.
This is what I mean. It's like, you know, so I can't believe he's come out with that statement because I think that's just ridiculous. Of course, it's going to be similar because of what Arsene Wenger was at Arsenal Football Club. Of course, it's going to be similar, but like John was saying, it's going to be time. It's going to be turbulent, and as long as we start seeing progress, as long as we start seeing a bit more of a surer defence, for example, you could maybe go to a game and you go, oh, actually that looks more solid, which might be a 0-0, but I would be happy to go, oh, actually that was quite solid from the defence. And it's weird to say it, but these are the kind of games I think Arsenal fans need to maybe look at, get used to, and as you say, look at, because the defence is shocking, and it has been for a while. There's no doubt the attacking qualities of Arsenal, but the defence is horrible. But if the progression's there, and we see maybe a couple of 0-0s with good solid defence, I think I'd be quite pleased at that. But also, I mean, you got to remember Arsene Wenger when he took over, totally different times. So that's another thing, because people always go back to Sir Alex Ferguson. These were the 80s. It's different. The Premier League is different, and you can never compare now to what it was then. You can never do that. And I hate people when they try and compare. There's no point. You just can't do it anymore. But Arsene Wenger inherited an unbelievable defence. He inherited that. And he inherited Dennis Bergkamp, one of Arsenal's greatest. You didn't buy him. Bruce Rioch brought Dennis Bergkamp in. I mean, I'm not saying it was him personally, but it was under his management. So, you look at that, and what did Unai Emery inherit? He inherited an awful defence that he now has to shore up. So, you can't, you just can't compare it. And like I say, it's going to be similar in parts. And we saw it in the West Ham. We saw it in the Cardiff game where you were like, oh, it's this again. The defence, why are they so like that? But I think, as you say, you're seeing Aubameyang and Lacazette now working together, and you saw how powerful they were and how ruthless they were, and you were like, oh, okay, yeah, I can see that. Be interesting, I say, in the next few months if that defence does start to shore up. If he does start to, and that's why I talked about before. Let's experiment with players. Let's experiment, and yeah, we might lose games. But I think this is a season where we can experiment because hopefully, and not all Arsenal fans will, but hopefully Arsenal fans will realise that he's trying to do his own thing and build his own way, and then hopefully we'll be able to progress and move forward. But time will tell. But it is for me, it's an exciting time.
Of course.
I think we all just really, really want to see Torreira start a game as well.
Yeah, definitely.
When he's come on as a sub, he's made such an impact.
Yeah.
Let's see him start.
Exactly. Right. In other news, let's whiz past this one because we've still got the end of the quiz to do. Let's whiz past this one, okay? In other news, this year's Champions League group stage has the potential to be the most entertaining in the competition's history. Cristiano Ronaldo will return to Old Trafford with Juve as United are drawn alongside a rejuvenated Valencia and the young boys of Switzerland. Oh, they're from Bern. Last year's runner-up, Liverpool will face Carlo Ancelotti's Napoli, Paris Saint-Germain, and Red Star Belgrade. Spurs are joined in Group B by Barcelona, Inter Milan, PSV Eindhoven, while Man City will no doubt be the favourites to win Group F as they're drawn with Lyon, Hoffenheim, and Shakhtar. I'm going to be honest, as a United fan, it's not the draw that I wanted. I'm sure the same can be said for Spurs. Liverpool and City will be okay, though, won't they?
Yeah, they'll be okay. Yeah, but then City have got content with the majesty of Reece Nelson.
Oh yeah,
Hoffenheim. Yeah. So could be trouble there.
Careful, Bernard Mendy, you're in trouble there. No more shark tweets there, my friend. Over in League 1, PSG disposed of Nîmes 4-2 to go 3 points clear at the top. Neymar and Mbappe made the headlines for two separate incidents, however. After giving Paris Saint-Germain the lead, Neymar ran to a section of the home fans and mimicked crying as they had a banner calling him a chorona, which in Portuguese means crybaby. Meanwhile, Mbappe was sent off for shoving an opponent after being hacked down. He said, "I'd do it again." So there you go. No remorse there. Jed, Bayern Munich used to be called FC Hollywood by the German press. It seems to me that Paris Saint-Germain are about to take that title. Never a dull moment at the club, is there?
No, it never is. I think with when you've got that vast amount of money and you're signing those kind of players, it's a bit like Manchester City, and when you're backed by a whole state. I mean, you can sign anyone you want. The excitement is there, in it, and I think Neymar. I mean, I love Mbappe. I think he's going to be unbelievable, and he's obviously still only young. He had a brilliant World Cup, and I think he's going to be phenomenal. Is Paris Saint-Germain the team I'd want to see him at? No, I'd love to see him somewhere different that would be challenging more for Champions League final places. I think in a more competitive league. Neymar's an interesting one because he just brings his own entertainment. I mean, there's people say. I mean, I know people that say they just don't get Neymar, they don't rate him, and I do see why, because he dives everywhere and sometimes he just doesn't do anything. But there is in games when he's just phenomenal. I remember the 2016 Brazil World Cup, wasn't it? Where he was just, or 2014 when it World Cup. Sorry, he took that Brazil team to, and then when he got injured, that team just was nothing. And I've seen him in games for Barcelona. I've seen him in games for Paris Saint-Germain where the skill level, the quality, the technique of this guy is incredible. I just think he lets himself down. But yeah, as the sort of FC Hollywood, I think with the players, I say the Mbappe and Neymar, arguably right now, are they the two best footballers on the planet? I mean, we could have this argument for another 3 hours. But
I think Mbappe's up there, though.
Mbappe's definitely up there. Neymar, I say the argument we could have Ronaldo, Messi, who is the best player. There's so many different connotations in that. But yeah,
Lovren, he says he's up there, isn't he?
Lovren is he's obviously number one. But yeah, I mean, FC Hollywood, yeah, I'd go along with that. But then, I always think if you're a Paris Saint-Germain fan, you destroy every team in Ligue 1, and then you're just waiting for Champions League football and waiting for these big teams to come to and I think this is why also they don't do great in the Champions League, is because they only come up against big teams and solid defenses or really good attacking lines that can test their defense when they play Champions League football. And unfortunately, because they're not playing it week in, week out, that's why they come a cropper. I really do. And so will there come a time when Neymar and Mbappe go, actually, I want to test myself more week in, week out? I'd love to see them both in the Premier League, though. I'd love to see them both in the Premier League.
Interesting. And finally, Rhodri isn't here, not because of this, I promise. He's a good lad. Gary Neville put out a tweet yesterday pleading for information about a stolen tractor. No, Gary Neville isn't quitting his job at Sky to pursue a career in farming and agriculture. The tractor owned by his Salford City side was stolen from the ground over the weekend. Gentlemen, people, you haven't heard this story, right? While John dies, I'm gonna continue. People take the odd ballpoint pen or post-it note from their jobs at work. I know I have. I'm not suggesting for 1 second a member of staff at the club have nabbed the tractor. Can you guys think of any random items nabbed from football grounds? I seem to remember a police dog running on the pitch during a game in Bolivia, making away with a match ball. I once stole grass from Old Trafford.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Leant over the advertising hoarding, ripped it. Actually ate some as well for a laugh, but that's another story for another.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't say I have any comment.
Have you thought of anything? Can you think of any random things stolen from games or
random things? I don't know. I remember. Do you remember a few years ago when we were talking to Rowan Ricketts and he was explaining to us about the mobile phone incident.
Yeah, but he said that he didn't do it. He said that
he did it so that he could get out of the club.
Contract,
but he didn't actually do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't think of anything else other than that. To admit to do something that you didn't do to get out of a club. There you go. That's a bit of one, isn't it?
Jed, can you think of anything?
Yeah, well, like you say, I remember when so back to Preston North End, they used to play on a plastic pitch, the Astro pitch, back in the early 90s. I remember the very obviously final game of that, and there's a lot of Preston fans out there that have got little Astro pitch cutouts on their walls as little mementos, and there's things like that. But also, one of my favourite ones, one of my favourite stories is again, I don't personally know him, but I'm sure it was. I want to say it was Burnley. Remember the old program? They used to have the where you used to sell the programs. You had like a little stand.
Yeah.
But, your little stand. One was unmanned. Obviously, it was a little bit worse for wear. Dig into the game. He was outside and won. Had a few beers, and like sometimes you go on a night out and you nick a traffic cone and or whatever.
Oh yeah.
he picked up the whole program sort of stand and took it with him. And apparently, I don't know. It was a friend of mine was telling me. Apparently, he's still got it in his house somewhere as a little memento of a program. So I mean, I don't think we use them anymore. But yeah, that was his from a ground. But yeah, it's free for now. So I'm not. Yeah, usually, like I say, pitch, bit of the grass, bit of the. I mean, there's. I want to say turnstiles. I know they used to auction off turnstiles to these mad fans, but yeah, the program stand for me on a drunken afternoon out because no one was manning it's probably the best one.
Superb. Well, if you have any information on its whereabouts, the track that is, please email andy.gilbin@salfordcfc.com. I'm sure Peter Lim will reward you with VIP tickets to La Tomatina in Valencia or a free night stay in hotel football. Check under the mattress. You might
for the tractor.
No, not for the tractor. For some loose change. I don't know, loose millions that may be hiding there allegedly. I'm not going to go into that, but yeah, that's it for our review. Shall we do our quiz?
Come on then.
Right.
I've been thinking.
Liverpool 3, Everton 3, Liverpool 0.
This was 2006.
Yes.
So Yakubu.
Okay, no, just tell me. Don't ask me. I'm not going to give you the answer, am
I? I can't even think who else played for Everton back then. I can't think of anyone other than Yakubu.
Okay, you're going with Yakubu hat-trick.
No, there was probably somebody else's squad, but I can't think who it was.
I'm the same as you. I was thinking Yakubu was a great shout actually, because I was thinking who else was there, but I've gone. I know Tim Cahill was pretty prolific.
Yeah.
I'm 90% sure. I'm trying to go for the team, and all I'm sort of getting is the likes of. So the only one I've gone for is Cahill, because I think he had great seasons, didn't he? He was a really good player for them. And Julian Lescott, sort of a defender. I realised that actually headed a few goals. But for anybody else, I just couldn't remember. Who was playing for them at the time? So I'm trying to think who was up front for them. But yeah, so I could only come up with Cahill and then potentially Lescott as a header from a corner that he used to do.
Okay, so he's going with Cahill and Lescott, and you're going with.
I'll say the same.
Kubu's a good shout.
Was Arteta there at the time?
Yeah.
Was that pre-Arteta? Was he still at Rangers?
Yeah, Arteta's a good shout. He would have been 2006.
Was he? Was he there or was he at Rangers? I'm not sure. I'll say if Arteta was there, then Arteta, Cahill, and Yakubu.
Okay. Right, you're going with that. Okay, fine. Bolton 1, Watford 0.
Stelios?
The only one I can think of around 2006, and it's a guess because he might have moved away because he's gone to 3,000 million clubs. Nicholas Anelka.
Oh, okay.
It's the only one I could think of.
Anelka could be a shout, or was it Noble that was there? Nolan, rather.
No, Kevin Nolan.
Kevin Nolan or Stelios.
Okay, so you're going with one of possible 3.
Or Diop. I'm going to go to Stelios.
Okay.
Stelios.
Right, okay. Newcastle 1, Fulham 2. Jed.
Agree
with you.
So Fulham again. I'm thinking 2006. I'm thinking Berbatov. I don't know. I can't remember when he went to Man United or was it Tottenham at the time. I can't remember.
2008 he joined United, so was it Spurs at the time?
So he was Spurs, yeah. So I'm trying to think, was he there? I don't know. And again, I've also got, there's Danny Murphy. I think if he was there, was he at Liverpool? And then there was Jimmy Bullard, who used to take penalties and free kicks and stuff like that. Newcastle, was it? 2006. Someone, I think he was up front. I don't know, was he?
Alan Shearer was up front.
2006. Was he still there?
Yeah. Was it like Shirley Ameobi, players like that? But I don't know. That's it. If Shearer's up front, I'll go Shearer.
Okay.
Was Dempsey at Fulham at the time?
Good question.
I'm going to say Clint Dempsey brace.
Okay.
And
Fulham.
Shearer.
Yeah, good shout.
Okay. So those are your answers. I shall give you the answers now.
I think I've got them all wrong, haven't I?
I'm thinking.
Let's have a look.
Could be horrible.
So Everton 3, Liverpool 0. Everton's goal scorers were Tim Cahill and Andrew Johnson got 2.
Yeah.
There you go. The next game, Bolton 1, Watford 0. Gary Speed, a penalty in the 96th minute.
Yeah. We never got that.
Nah.
And Newcastle 1, Fulham 2. You guys were on the right track when you said Clint Dempsey. There was an American goal scorer, Brian McBride and Bocanegra.
Oh yeah.
Newcastle's goal scorer was Scott Parker, who actually ended up at Fulham.
So we didn't get anything right.
You got 1.
Oh, we got 1 right. We got Cahill right.
There you go. It's a tricky game.
It's a very
tricky game.
Mike Pieri would be good at that game.
Mike is good at it. It was Marvin got 6 right last week.
Wow.
Marvin Bartley got 6 right last week. Then he got all the goal scorers correct when it was Villa 3, Spurs 2.
Who was that then? Who was
Ferdinand got 2 for Spurs. Les Ferdinand. Collymore and York scored for Villa. I can't remember the third Spurs goal, but yeah. So it's a tricky game.
Yeah,
it's a tricky game.
That's a very tough game.
There you go. And that's it for this week, gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you,
Jed. Thanks for your appearance. Would you like to give our listeners your Twitter handle, mate?
Yeah, Jed Mills, GEDMILLS. Pretty simple. Give us a follow. Pretty dull, boring. I'll give us know about it. And then show as well coming up this weekend.
Wonderful, Johnny.
Yeah, thank you very much for bringing me back again. I won't give my Twitter handle because I don't really use it.
Rubbish.
But maybe one day I will.
Shocking. Well, we have a Twitter. It's at Shoot the Defense. Feel free to follow us on Facebook as well. We have a group page. Everyone likes to get involved in a bit of winding up and biting, which is quite interesting. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Shoot the Defense. I am uploading old content from the archives that's not available on iTunes. You hear myself and Johnny being very, very, unprofessional. I've cut out a lot of swear words.
There'll be some funny episodes there.
Shall I put the one where Andy confused Nelson Mandela with Malcolm X?
I think you need to.
I need to do
that one.
Yeah. Just for Jed, I'll do that one. It was a brilliant episode. Andy, if you're listening, we love you, mate. It's been great.
I've just got to say, I love the way that it looks like I've got a pink Mohican today as well.
Wow. Superb. Wow.
That's the 80s. There you go.
There you go. Well, that's it, guys. Until next time, take care.
Good night.